Greetings, I'm the Bulgarian Crocodile. Today I'm gonna talk about my journey and my history with Japanese media and culture. And my history with Japanese media and culture goes back a very long time. I was born in 1997. I was probably like 3 years old when I had my first experience with Japanese media, as I started collecting Pokemon cards. Pretty much after I was born, my father started buying those cards to me, and then I got obsessed about Pokemon very early on. And I think Pokemon came out originally like couple years before I was born. Yeah. But I actually have some Pokemon cards here because I never sold my Pokemon collection, so I'm gonna show you some that I loved as a kid. So we have this. This has always been one of my favorites. It's Gyarados, and this is out of the original set, although I think this is one of the reprints. Yeah, it says 1995, 96, 98. Yeah. But this is the kind of hollow version. But I absolutely love Gyarados. He was always one of my favorite Pokemons, and I really love this card. Yeah. And then we have Venusaur. Yeah, unfortunately I don't have the original Charizard or the original Blastoise, but I have the Venusaur one, although this is in pretty bad condition. But it's the hollow version, yeah. Then this is from one of the fairly early sets, so it's Dark Typhlosion. Really loved Typhlosion. And I know many people love the very cutesy Pokemon, but I love the ones that are more like dragons and dinosaurs and these kind of bigger badass type of Pokemon. Yeah. I never really loved Pikachu or any of the really cutesy ones. Then we have Gengar. Obviously love this Gengar card. Yeah. By the way, I'm not sure with all of these Pokemon how they are supposed to be pronounced in English, because I watched the anime with like the Finnish dubs and stuff, so I'm kind of used to pronouncing them in a more Finnish way, but I'm kind of trying to say them how I think they probably are said in English or Japanese. Yeah, but I think Gengar is a really great Pokemon, and I think he's still very popular. I often see like when I watch like manga and anime videos that people have Gengar toys and stuff, or even clothing. Then we have this random Charizard card, and Charizard has always been my favorite Pokemon. Like I said, I like the badass type of dragon and dinosaur type of Pokemon. Then we have Rayquaza EX. Yeah, I love Rayquaza again because he's a huge dragon. And he kind of looks like Shenron from Dragon Ball. And obviously we will get to Dragon Ball soon. I really hope that I will remember to talk about everything in this video, because there are so many things to cover, because again my history with Japanese media started pretty much after I was born, and there have been so many different phases. Yeah. Then this next card, I have a bit of a story with this one, so it's Suicune EX. So when I was a small kid, probably like 3 years old, there were some older kids on my neighborhood, and they stole many of my Pokemon cards. And obviously as I was 3 years old, those cards would have been from the first couple of sets. So they were probably worth quite a bit of money, especially now. And maybe, I don't remember what cards were in there because I was so small, but maybe I even had the original Charizard and stuff in there. But I never got those cards back. But then maybe 5 years later, when I was already in school, like those kids who stole the cards, they just suddenly came to my house and they gave me this card, which I really love, this card, and some other cards. I think maybe when they got a bit older, they realized that, yeah, it was wrong what they did, so they kind of wanted to apologize and just make it up to me somehow. So they gave me this card and some other cards, and we were talking for a little while, and it was really nice. And I really appreciate people like that who maybe were bullies at one point, but then they later on realized that yeah, maybe having some empathy is a good thing, and you shouldn't be an asshole for the rest of your life. So that was a really good moment that I still remember that, and I really appreciate that moment. So this kind of card has some special value to me due to that. Yeah. Then I remember when I got this card, it's Charizard. So I still remember the day. It was the kind of a convenience store in the kind of central part of my town. Like we have this convenience store chain called R-Kioski in Finland, so that's where I bought this, and I was so happy when this Charizard came out of the pack, because again I love Charizard. Yeah. And I think before this I didn't have any Charizards, but again, when those cards were stolen from me, maybe there was Charizard there, but yeah, at that point I didn't have any, so I was really happy to get this one. Then we have a couple more, so we have Blaziken. Yeah, I love the fire Pokemon, so this was of course the starter from I think the third generation. Charizard is from the first, then Typhlosion is from the second, and then Blaziken is from the third. And the first 3 generations are kind of my generations, but after that I don't know as much. Yeah. Then one more, I really love this card as a kid, but it's Salamence, again another dragon type of Pokemon, so no surprise why I love it. And I actually would probably still collect Pokemon cards today if I just had the money for it, but of course I have these other collecting hobbies already with a very little budget, so I cannot really justify getting any Pokemon cards, but if I get into a better financial position at some point, I might start buying Pokemon cards again, because it's such a fun hobby, I think. Yeah. And then I actually still have one of these. Yeah, this Game Boy. This is the Game Boy Advance SP. But I also had an earlier Game Boy, but this was obviously a big deal when it came out, because it had like better like resolution in the screen, I think, and there was more light in the image, because the earlier ones were very dark. Yeah. But this thing actually still works, even though this is so old. And look what the game it is here. Pokemon Fire Red. I got this from Stockholm, I remember, but I had some of the earlier Pokemon games as well, but I remember we moved once, and then for some reason in the move, one of the games got lost somewhere. I tried to find it. I spent so many hours trying to find it, but I couldn't find it. So I have some experience with Japanese games as well, although not that much. Like I didn't play many of the Nintendo games, and I never had like any of the bigger Nintendo consoles. I had like a PlayStation 1, then PlayStation 2, and then Xbox 360, and then I also played computer games. I'm kind of one of the computer master race type of people as I got older. But yeah, I didn't play that many Japanese games. Of course, I've tried some Super Mario games and games like that, but Sonic. But yeah, it wasn't really my type of thing. I usually liked a bit more kind of action-packed and darker games than that. Yeah. But there were probably some more Japanese games, but I don't remember, again, all the games that I played. And even the ones that I remember, I don't know with all of them whether they are Japanese or American or whatever. Yeah. But I of course also like the Pokemon anime series a lot, and then the first 3 movies, and I have watched some of the other movies later on as well. Yeah, the first movie was probably my favorite. I love the scene when they go to the Mewtwo's like tournament or whatever it is, and then the people put their Pokemon against Mewtwo one by one, so there's like Gyarados, Hyper Beam Attack. Yeah, love that. Okay, like I said, I love Gyarados so much, so that was always one of my favorite moments. Yeah. But yeah, the anime is quite good, I guess. And back when Pokemon Go came out in 2016, I got really obsessed about that. And I played it a lot for a while, and then I started actually rewatching the anime when Pokemon Go came out, because I was all about Pokemon, and I was watching like card like all the card things on YouTube, like people opening packs and stuff. Yeah, so that was nice nostalgia back then. Yeah. But then there were also other Japanese shows that I liked as a kid, like Digimon was very big for me, and I actually preferred Digimon to Pokemon. I think somebody said it really nicely recently. I saw somewhere online that Digimon had the better anime, but then Pokemon had better everything else, so better trading cards and better games and stuff. Although I really loved that one Digimon game on PlayStation 1, I played that a lot. Yeah, that was fun. Like it was one of those fighting games, so yeah, kind of like Tekken and the games like that, but with Digimon. I don't know what it was called anymore, but I really enjoyed that and I played that a lot with some of my friends. Yeah, even though now it feels kind of clunky in retrospect, but yeah, I absolutely loved the Digimon anime, and I had some Digimon toys as well. And yeah, and I had some of the Digimon trading cards as well, but they weren't as cool as Pokemon trading cards, so yeah. So those were two like really big ones, but then a bit later on, obviously Dragon Ball Z was huge to me. I read also Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, the manga series. I had it because it was actually back then some manga was translated into Finnish. So I read Dragon Ball Z many times. And then I of course watched the anime when it was on TV and stuff. Yeah, so that was a huge thing to me. And then there were some of the Dragon Ball Z like PlayStation 2 games, like the Budokai Tenkaichi games. I absolutely loved the Budokai Tenkaichi 2. Yeah, the first one was a bit clunky, but the second one was absolutely amazing. And I guess now we get back into the video games, that those were actually some video games that I played, Japanese video games that I played. Yeah, I would still love to play that. And I know there are many other Dragon Ball games now. I actually bought on Steam, like I think the Xenoverse 2 when it was on sale, like very cheaply, like €7 or something, but I still haven't played it, but I have it ready to go if I want to try it out at some point. Yeah. But yeah, Dragon Ball was really big. And then when it comes to manga, I was reading some other manga back then, like Inuyasha was big to me, but I only read it some of the volumes as a kid. I don't really remember anything about them other than some like images and stuff. And I know there's an anime of Inuyasha as well, but I haven't watched that ever. But I want to get back into Inuyasha at some point. Yeah. Then I read One Piece. No, it's crazy that One Piece was going on then and it's still going on because it's one of the longest series of all time. I think there's over 100 volumes of the manga. But these were among like the first 10 volumes I had. Some of them, and again, they were translated into Finnish, and I really enjoyed it. But I really don't remember anything about One Piece. But it's a series that I want to start collecting again and reading. I think I'm not gonna check out the anime because it's just too long, and apparently the anime, while some of it is very great, but it has so much filler that yeah, I don't really want to watch all the filler. It's over 1,000 episodes long, so it would be such a long project to watch the whole thing. Yeah. And I think they are actually doing a new anime of it that maybe won't have that much filler, so I will probably check that one out. And they did the Netflix live action version as well, which I'm not that interested in. But I'm pretty sure with One Piece I'm probably just gonna read the manga and not bother that much about the other stuff. Of course there are those nice manga box sets that I'm eyeing when and if I have the money for them. Although I might just start reading them online first and see if I still like it. I'm pretty sure I will. And then I read some Death Note, although it was only a couple of volumes, so I didn't read the whole series, but obviously that's still like one of the like most popular and most highly acclaimed mangas, so I want to go back to that, whether it's with the manga or with the anime. Yeah. So those were some of the mangas I read back then. But then there were a couple of other animes. So there was that one called Cyborg 007 or 009, something like that. I really liked that anime. I think it was dubbed to Finnish back then, and I've been thinking that maybe I should check that out again. So I think there are a couple of different versions of it. I saw some of the episodes of the old version, but then I watched the whole newer version from the mid 2000s. So that was great. And then one that's really big in Finland, particularly, is called Silver Fang, about these dogs fighting these mountain bears. And it's like absolutely hugely popular in Finland, like pretty much as popular as Pokémon. Like even the manga author has visited Finland because it's so big here, but then it's fairly unknown like in other European countries and in the US. But it's a really great anime, and I haven't read the manga. And that manga is actually available in Finnish again because it's so popular. And then after Silver Fang, the manga author has done like sequels to it with like Silver Fang's Sons, and then the Silver Fang's Sons and like new generations all the time. Yeah. But I loved also the sequel anime Weed, which is about again Silver Fang's son. So that's great, and those were something that I really loved as a kid. Yeah, and I still do. Yeah. And then, well, there was even the Moomins anime. Again, Moomins are from Finland. They were created by Tove Jansson, a very famous person here in Finland. But Japanese people fell in love with Moomin, so they did the anime version of it. And the anime version is still the kind of big version here in Finland as well. Of course, it was dubbed to Finnish, and that's actually one great Finnish dub, the original Moomins anime dub. That's great. So that was something I loved, and many people love here. Yeah. And there are probably some others as well that I cannot think of off the top of my head, but those were some things that I really loved as a kid. But then in my teenage years, I wasn't really consuming anything Japanese because I was kind of at that kind of period as a teenager where I just was into things that are very popular, and I tried to quote unquote be very normal and not be nerdy and stuff. So I kind of wasted many of my teenage years trying to be normal. So then I was just watching like some of the early Marvel movies and everything that was popular, and mostly just American stuff, both with like music and with films and everything. And I wasn't really reading that much at that point, like whether it was no manga, no books. But then in 2016 on Christmas, that was around the time I started expanding my taste in cinema, and as a Christmas present I got this bad boy here, Akira Kurosawa's Samurai Masterpiece Collection, that has Rashomon, Seven Samurai, Throne of Blood, The Hidden Fortress, Yojimbo and Sanshura. So this kind of opened the door back into the world of Japan, and I started with Rashomon. Couldn't really fully get into it as I still wasn't that used to older films, even though I had seen some. But then as I go through the whole box set, I started liking them more and more. And then due to this I really got into world cinema, but also particularly Japanese cinema. So I really have to thank Akira Kurosawa for that. Yeah. And I love Kurosawa, even though sometimes I'm also a bit critical of his work, but he's still one of my favorite directors. Yeah. But then in 2017 I of course watched many other Japanese films, and one that was very important to me then and still is, it's Seppuku or Harakiri from Masaki Kobayashi. When I watched this like a few months after getting into Kurosawa, this was finally the film that made me think that holy shit, I should like really get into Japanese cinema now, because this is just one of those towering masterpieces, those life-changing masterpieces that when you see this you think that that's one of the greatest films of all time, and I didn't know that cinema can be at that level. So this really kind of opened the door even further after Kurosawa. And then I of course watched Tokyo Story and some other Ozu, and And I really got into Ozu immediately. It's pretty surprising considering kind of the pacing and that not much happens in these films, and back then I still had that kind of more grandiose taste that I wanted really things to happen, and I liked plot-driven films a lot, and I wasn't into kind of these slice of life films as much back then yet, but somehow Ozu just clicked with me immediately, and of course throughout the years he has clicked with me even more so, and now he's my favorite Japanese director currently. Yeah. Then I think in the second half of 2019 I kind of had a mindset that I started feeling like now I have seen all the great films, or I was kind of approaching that point. I had seen many of the canonical films, but then I decided to watch Masaki Kobayashi's The Human Condition, and then this changed my perspective altogether, because after I finished watching this whole trilogy I just realized that that might be the best thing I have ever seen. And then I thought that there must be so many films still for me to watch. There will be never-ending supply of great films if I'm just willing to sit down and look for them. So this was just one of those absolutely mind-blowing films. Yeah. And then I think, a bit earlier than that, maybe in early 2018, something got me back into the world of Dragon Ball. So obviously the Dragon Ball Super was going on. Then I started watching that, and then I fell in love with Dragon Ball all over again. But even though I fell in love with that, I still wasn't into anime in general. I kind of thought that anime it's for kids only, I shouldn't get back into it. But then, as few years went by, I got back into anime again, and then when I got back into anime more, I also decided that I should also read the manga, because it's kind of like if you just watch films but never read books, the source material. I think that it's the same with anime and manga, that if you are into anime you should also consider getting into manga, as that's where most of the stories come from. Yeah. But I first got into anime, and then a bit later on I got back into manga. And the journey with anime and manga in the past couple of years has been so great. I've watched so many anime shows and some films, and then I've read so much manga. Yeah. Like, again, Shūzō Oshimi is my favorite mangaka. Again, this is the series Happiness, which I love. I love Flowers of Evil. That was one of the first series I read when I got back into manga. I love Blood on the Tracks that I recently read, and then Inside Mari is really good. So yeah, Shūzō Oshimi is now one of my favorite artists in general. Then I, of course, the manga that I actually got into manga or how do you say, that the first series that I read after I got back into manga was Vagabond, which is about Musashi Miyamoto, the famous samurai. And I read the whole series quite quickly. It's a very long series, although it's an unfinished series, as the mangaka decided that he isn't gonna continue it, or although hopefully it will come back, because it's one of those towering masterworks. And then, as I had watched the Berserk anime a bit earlier, I started reading Berserk, although I still haven't finished Berserk, even though it's one of my favorites. I'm kind of savoring it, but I'm now I've read the first 25 volumes or something like that, so I still have quite a bit to go, but I'm savoring it. But I absolutely love Berserk, just like everybody else does. So those were very important to me. Then I started reading some of the BL manga, which I really enjoyed, some of the trashier stuff sometimes. And then last year, Yazawa became one of my favorites when I got into the Nana anime, and then I read the manga that came after the anime. The story continues after the anime in the manga. So I read that part of the manga and absolutely fell in love with that story, and that's one of my favorite stories ever now. And then I later on also got Paradise Kiss from her, and I've now also seen the anime, but I read the manga first, and this is so great. as well, and yeah, I absolutely love her work. Yeah. And then of course everybody gets into Junji Ito as well, so I've only read Uzumaki so far, but this is just so great, like hardback. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, getting back into manga and anime has been really great, and I'm planning to continue that journey. I'm watching anime pretty much all the time and trying to read manga very often as well, although sometimes I get into slumps and stuff. Yeah. And I wish I had more money to buy like manga because it's very expensive. But I would love to get like so many manga series, but I'll try to collect it like slowly but surely. And maybe at some point I will have more money to buy more of it, but we'll see. Yeah. But if we get back into films for a little bit, again, Japanese films have been very instrumental in my journey into getting more like difficult films and more experimental films. So of course the Japanese new wave stuff has been very important to me. So for example, these Yoshida films I absolutely love, especially Aerospace Massacre and Heroic Purgatory, and this is also my favorite box set in terms of the looks. I just love the color so much. But this was just one of those series or trilogies that made me really, it made me fall in love with cinema that's very incomprehensible and stuff. Although David Lynch was of course before that part of that journey as well, but these just kind of furthered my taste for that type of stuff. And then we have the Buddhist trilogy from Akio Chisoji. Absolutely love these films as well, and there are many others as well. Those are just some examples. And what I love about Japanese cinema is that there are so many different flavors to it, that they do the trashy stuff better than anybody else in the world, and then they do the highbrow stuff better than anybody else as well. And with the highbrow stuff there are so many different types of things, like there are highbrow samurai films, then there are those very political, radical films, and then there are those kind of classical films from Ozu and Mizoguchi and stuff, and yeah, so many different flavors. And many filmmakers also mix together kind of lowbrow and highbrow, just like Sion Sono, for example, does. I think Shinua Tsukamoto does that a bit as well, so I love that stuff as well. And recently I've been watching lots of Japanese drama series as well, and some of them are kind of comedic, very trashy, and I like that stuff. And then some of them are very kind of like more serious and contemplative and have interesting themes in them. Yeah, so that has been very rewarding journey to watch those shows as well. And Japanese shows tend to be quite short, so they are often just one season long, like 10 episodes, 8 episodes long. So they are very easy to watch. And I've recently subscribed to this streaming service called Viki Rakuten, which has lots of Asian shows, Japanese included, so I've been watching lots of Japanese stuff there. And later on I plan to watch also Korean and other things. But now I've been just focusing on Japanese stuff. And then when it comes to Japanese films, some of my recent obsessions have been, for example, Kiyoshi Kurosawa and Nobuhiko Obayashi. Like both of these directors have become some of my favorite directors ever. So yeah, really, it's been really great to get into them more now. But then one kind of blind spot to me when it comes to Japanese media is like Japanese literature. I haven't read pretty much any of it yet, other than this one, Snow Country from Yasunari Kawabata. And Kawabata is of course a very famous and important Japanese author. He even won the Nobel Prize. And I started this like recently, Beauty and Sadness, but then I kind of got into reading slump. I didn't finish it, but I enjoyed the beginning, so I need to get back into that. Then I've also had this one for quite a while, but still haven't read it. So it's Confessions of a Mask from Yukio Mishima, who is obviously a very important figure. And then I showed this recently, Osamu Dazai's no longer human. So these are the only Japanese books I own so far, but I'm of course planning to get more, both the classics and then some of the more newer ones. But of course I need to read Tale of Genji, and I need to read Makioka Sisters, and what's that one from Soseki? Is it Kokoro? I think it's Kokoro. Like, that's very famous one. And of course Mishima has lots of stuff. Dazai has other stuff. Yeah. And there are many others. Yeah. Many others that I want to get into. And also Japanese poetry is something that I want to get into. So yeah, that's something I want to really dedicate lots of time to in the future, is Japanese literature. And of course I've been learning the Japanese language as well. Now it's been like over 100 days since I started. I try to learn it a little bit every day, although I've so far only used Duolingo, and obviously that's a bit limited, so I should kind of think about some other strategies to learn it as well. But I've learned quite a lot of words so far, and even some katakana and kanji and hiragana, and that's kind of my least favorite part, is learning all the letters and stuff, because I think it's kind of hard to, like, it would be easier to learn that stuff like as a kid. Like, it gets obviously harder the older you get. That's just the fact of life, although not impossible, but harder. But I've managed to learn some of them, yeah, because Duolingo constantly makes me learn that stuff as well. And I think the pronunciation is the easiest part about Japanese, because for some reason it's actually very similar to Finnish. You wouldn't think that it would be similar, because obviously there's Finland and Japan are very different cultures that historically haven't interacted with each other that much, and there's obviously a huge gap between them. Like, Finland is here in Northern Europe and Japan is there in East Asia. Yeah, there's such a huge amount of land between the two countries, but for some reason the languages are pronounced quite similarly, although there are some words and some letters that are very different. Yeah, but it has been great to learn the language, and I really enjoy it. And it's good that I'm constantly watching the Japanese shows and movies, because that obviously helps with the learning. Yeah. And I would also love to visit Japan in the future, hopefully even many times. Although of course it's gonna be quite expensive, as the flights are very long, and of course it's a highly developed country, so even like everything in Japan is quite expensive. Although I think Finland is probably quite a bit more expensive than Japan, but still it's definitely gonna be quite expensive probably. And yeah, the flights are gonna be so long. I've never been in such a long flight. I mean, longest I have been has been 5 hours to Egypt. So I think to Japan, it used to be like 9 hours when you could fly throughout Russia. The direct flight from Finland to Japan was like 9 hours, but now I think due to the Russia and Ukraine war, I think they cannot fly through that route anymore. So now I think the flight is even longer than 9 hours. So yeah, because 9 hours still sounds like kind of manageable, especially if it's like maybe at night that you can sleep throughout some of it. Although sleeping in a plane isn't that nice, especially if it's like the economy side where there's no leg space and stuff. Yeah. But anyway, we'll see when that happens. I would love to do a trip where I go to Tokyo and then take the bullet train to Kyoto and visit all the old temples and stuff there, and then go to Osaka, which is the second biggest city. Yeah. But I would also love to go to many of the other places like Okinawa and Hokkaido even. Obviously Hokkaido probably doesn't interest many people, but I like the kind of snow winter type of place as well. And yeah, I think Hokkaido would be cool. And then Mount Fuji is obviously something that would be cool to visit. And there are many other places. I would also love to just go to some random places. And of course there are many other cities like Kobe and Sapporo and places like that could be cool as well. And I would love to taste all the food, even though I'm pretty sometimes quite bad at tasting new things because I always have these kind of prejudices, although it's not relating to like food of any culture or country, but it's just something that there are so many things that I don't like in food. I have a pretty kind of narrow taste when it comes to food, and I'm from a working class background. I think that plays to it partly. Yeah. But I think many of the Japanese foods that I see in movies and stuff, they look like something that I would like the Japanese curry or kare. Like that looks like something that I will really love, and I think I will love ramen a lot. But then I'm not into seafood, so that kind of makes the selection quite limited in Japan because they cook so much seafood, and I have to be fairly careful when I order food that I'm not gonna get any seafood. But yeah, so I'll have to just eat the stuff that's based on like beef and pork and chicken, and even I like some vegan food as well, so that can be something I try as well, although I think Japan is maybe a bit behind when it comes to vegan food, that most people just eat meat there, so I think most of the food is meat based. Yeah. But yeah, looking forward to trying out those Japanese foods and snacks when I get there, and hopefully I've been even thinking that of course in Finland you can buy some of the Japanese snacks as well, and there are of course some Japanese restaurants, so that could be something that I do before the Japan trip eventually. Yeah. And with all these crazy things that are happening in Europe and North America and stuff, like I have actually been thinking that if I won the lottery, I might actually move to Japan, but obviously I won't win the lottery, and I'll never be rich. But if I was, it's fun to fantasize that maybe I would move to Japan then. Yeah. But who knows, maybe I'll win the lottery, maybe I'm one of the very lucky ones who does that. But anyway, I think it's enough about the rambling. I think I'm gonna edit a small clip in the end where I'm gonna learn some Japanese in Duolingo, so you can see how it goes, and hopefully I'm not gonna make a fool out of myself when I do that, because I think there's kind of extra pressure when I'm doing it on camera. I usually get like very good scores, like over 90%, and many like perfect lessons as well, so I'm actually doing quite well with the Duolingo stuff. But I think there are some times when I make some stupid mistakes that I shouldn't make and stuff, but we'll see how it goes here. But definitely, again, let me know your history with Japanese media. Are you into Japanese films and music? Oh god, now I realized that I forgot music completely, because I've been really into Japanese music also in the past few years, especially. So Diren Grey, Ichiko, Aoba, Kikuohana, Kinoko, Teikoku, those are some examples of artists and bands that I really like. Imperial Circus, Dead Decadence, that's such a stupid name for a band, but they make such killer metal music. And of course as a kid I also loved many of the anime music and video game music that was Japanese as well. So Japanese music has been big for me in recent years, and I've listened to quite a lot of it, and I'm planning to listen to more of it. And I've really also gotten into Hikaru Utada recently, who is the most famous Japanese pop singer, and love her music a lot. She has this song called Hatsukoi that I absolutely love. Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs of all time, but she has many other songs and great albums as well. And one video game series that I forgot to mention was Dynasty Warriors. That was so big for me as a kid. Like I played the 2nd, 4th and 5th ones, and then the one Strike Force, which was a bit different on Xbox 360. But the 4th one was my favorite, and obviously it's based on the kind of Three Kingdoms in story in China, even though I think it's a Japanese game, but yeah, it's about China. And yeah, I played those so much, and those actually had great metal music often, those games. Yeah, but so much fun, and I really want to read the book, The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, I think it's called, that Chinese classic, because it's about those characters. And then there's that John Woo film, The Red Cliff, that has also are the same characters like Liu Bei and Cao Cao and Lu Bu, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing them correctly, but all those characters. But I love those games so much. Yeah. But yeah, so now I'm into Japanese music, films, anime, manga, and then hopefully I will get more and more into Japanese literature as well. Yeah. And then hopefully I can visit the country at some point, and yeah, hopefully even many times. And I sometimes watch some Japanese travel content on YouTube as well to kind of learn about some of the cultural practices and stuff that I should learn about before going there, because I want to, of course, respect the culture when I go there. Although I think it's not gonna be that difficult for me, as I'm pretty chill and mellow anyway, so because Japanese people usually hate when you are very loud and obnoxious, but I'm not that like naturally. I'm very quiet and someone who lurks in the shadows and observes other people rather than making a big deal out of myself. So I think my personality fits well in Japan. Yeah. But anyway, now let's go into Duolingo. So now it's time for some Japanese learning. We'll see how this goes. I might go a bit slower than I usually do here, just so you can see how these things go. And I might also like try to pronounce all the Japanese words and sentences like while I'm going through these for some extra learning. Yeah. We'll see how this goes on camera. Yeah.
毎朝
So every morning is Mayasa, definitely. Very is
とて
totemo.
も
My wife is Tsuma, I
妻
think. News is
ニュー
news.
ス
And this is actually very interesting how like many of these like Japanese words are very similar to the English words. Like I've really noticed that while I've learned here on Duolingo how often that's the case. Yeah. And bread is pan
パン
and smart is atamagai. Every night I think it's my ban.
毎晩
Juice is
ジュース
juice. Like you can see again how similar the words are. Jazz is
ジャズ
jazzu.
エンジニア
Engineer. Again another very similar word. And dad is
父
chichi. And busy is isokashi. 30. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. Eiga, I think it's movies, and kohi is coffee. Yeah. I is watashi.
私
Lunch is
昼
hirugo.
ご飯
Mom is haha.
母
4 is yon.
4
Lace is shimasu.
毎日おいしい晩ご飯を食べます毎日おいしい毎日おいしい晩ご飯を食べますお食べます
Mainichi oishii bangohan o tabemasu. I eat a tasty dinner every day. Yeah. So you can see how in like different order the words are in Japanese than in English, because mainichi is the everyday, oishi is tasty or delicious, and bangohan is dinner, and tabemasu is eat. So in completely different order. And this is one of the things that's gonna be like very difficult in learning Japanese. It's how differently the like the sentence structure is. Yeah, how different that is. Yeah. Ken reads manga at 8:30. So it starts with Ken-san, I
さん
think. Then it got like the time should come next, I think. 8:30.
8
Hachiji
時
ni
に
um,
漫
manga
画
or what read yomimasu. Yeah, I
読みます
still need to learn these by heart, like what is yomimasu and nomimasu and mimasu, etc. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure this should be right. Ken-san Hachiji ni manga o yomimasu. Oh, it went wrong. Yeah, I forgot the wa. because I think every time you have a name here, it's supposed to have wa after the name. Yeah, I've often made this mistake, but then afterwards I realized that oh, I forgot the wa again. But I think yeah, it was right, like otherwise, but it just was missing the wa, which is. Yeah.
7時半にテレビを見ます。テレビ、7時、7時半にテレビを見ます。テレビを見ます。
Yeah, I think this should be right.
7時半にテレビを見ます。
Oh yeah, ni
に、
goes there. So 7時半にテレビを見ます. Yeah. I eat a tasty breakfast every morning. Or every day. So every day comes first. Every day, is it Yazawa or mine? Like I sometimes have trouble remembering which is which, but I know it's one of those. Mainichi.
毎日
Yeah, mainichi.
おいしい 朝ごはんを食べます。
Yeah, I think this should be right. Yeah. 毎日おいしい朝ごはんを食べます。
12時にケーキを食べます。12時12時にケーキを食べます。2ケーキを食べます。
Yeah. 10日にケーキを食べます。
中山さんは11時にサンドイッチを食べます。
Yeah, sometimes these are really hard to read because you don't have like proper spaces in between some of these. Like it looks like a kind of word mess. Yeah. Nakayama-san wa 11日にサンドイッチを食べます。Yeah. Yeah, sandwich is a sandwich that Mrs. Nakayama eats a sandwich at 11. Is it? I think 11 o'clock. Is it 11? Yeah, I think. Yeah, it went right, yeah. That doctor drinks coffee at 10:30. Yeah.
その
Sono Isha
医者
wa
は10時半
wonder if this is going right, yeah. Sono Isha wa 11 han. I
に
think this is supposed to have ni here.
コーヒーを飲みます。
I wonder if this is right. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Sono Isha wa 11 han ni kohi o namimasu. Yeah, it was right.
花さんも9時にアニメを見ます。
Hana-san mo 9時にアニメを見ます。Yeah, Hana watches anime. Oh, it has more. So more, when you have more there, it means also Hana also watches. At Gucci, what was Gucci?
9時
9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock. So this should be right. Hana-san mo Gucci ni anime o mimasu. Yeah.
花さんは毎日大きい弁当を食べます。
Mainichi, I think that was every day. Yeah. Hana-san wa mainichi ooki bento. So ooki is big. So Hana eats a big boxed lunch every day. I think that should be it. So Hana eats a big boxed lunch every day. So this should be right. Yeah. Ken reads manga at 8:30. Well,
剣
Ken-san.
3
Oh yeah, I think we had this and I forgot the wa when we did it, but otherwise it was right. Yeah.
8時2漫画を
Yeah, what's this? Yeah, okay.
読みま
Just
す。
checking that it's Yomimas, yeah. Oh, and Han, because
は
it's
ん
8:30 and not 8, so now it should be right. Ken-san wa Hachiji Han ni manga o yomimasu. Yeah. So that was the lesson. 94%. Yeah. And 104-day streak currently. Yeah. You completed unit 4. Yeah. You moved up in the Amethyst League. But anyway, that's it for this video. It ended up being very long. But again, let me know your history, your journey with all types of Japanese media, whether it's about film, music, literature, manga, anime, Pokemon cards, video games, or whatever. And let me know if you would like to visit Japan or if you have already visited the Japan and how was that. Yeah. But thanks for watching. Don't drink Coke at all. Sayonara and arigato gozaimashita.